me to get just so I've done my thing for you, because I can't probably stay for the whole time, because I do need to rest at some point, or I might just flake out. It might suddenly disappear like just through tiredness, you know. So would it be okay if I do the little section on the games? So you've got that. It is transmedia.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so feel free to interrupt me, anybody, at any time. If nobody interrupts me, I think this will last 3 to 5 minutes. So we'll just see how we go. Now, I should be able to. I'm using ManyCam. If you're interested in this, anybody. I'm now cutting to the my desktop, and now you're seeing a load of stuff I really didn't want to show. So that's quite funny. And then now you're seeing the thing that I wanted to show. So hopefully you can see something that says A Peasant's Tale.
Yes.
Okay. So this breaks down into two little things here. So we're all the way back in actually 1987 when I wrote this game. I didn't do the artwork for this, and I don't really like the artwork. But anyway, what happened in a nutshell was I got paid in advance on royalties, and then the company promptly went bust, or so I understood. And I was too young and naive to take them to court or find out what had happened. So that's the story. But now I'm going to tell you about the thought. What you wanted to know, I believe, is the thought processes behind how you design a game. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's about interactive storytelling, because that's what gaming is. Wouldn't you agree?
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. And the fascinating thing is, and I can't actually see the full screen now, so I don't know if anybody's interacting. I'm going to have to leave that to you, Jonathan. But the fascinating thing is, even though what I'm going to tell you is archaic, I bet you, underneath all of the sophistication of 3D and everything, it's still the same sort of principle to write a game. Okay?
Sure.
So here we go. When you're writing a game, let's hope I go the right way now. Yeah. You are basically setting up a load of tables, just like Ready Reckoners or just like lookup tables. Yeah?
Yeah.
So even though this looks like gobbledygook, and it is, basically you can see at the top of the screen, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but anyway, at the top of the screen you can see titles of columns, and then running down the left-hand side, a number for what that particular entry in the table is. Yeah. So in this case, this is little routines of code that actually do something. I'm going to now move along at quite a quick pace, just so you get a feel for it.
Sure.
So this is now a table that shows you. They used to call them sprites, but pictures or objects in the game. So you've got a table for those. Then this is how old it is. This is handwritten. That's machine code to make it actually do something. This one defines how big you want the window to be, for example. But at the end of the day, all of this doesn't matter. All you have to know is that routine number 56 defines the size of the window. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay. Then, I don't know why really I put that one in. That's for another day. Then, okay, so something that might make sense is the map. It's just basically I drew it on graph paper because graphics were in their infancy back in 1987. Just graph paper, and each room in the castle has a number. So you could move from room 132 to 133. It's just tables. That's all programming is, just tables of information. Here's more. And then, I'll come back to the room for a second. Then you write a little bit of code to manipulate those tables. Does that make any sense? Would you like me to elaborate on that?
Well, yeah. I've been studying this book by Carolyn Miller, Digital Storytelling, and obviously a great amount of the content has to do with games, because games were pretty much the original digital storytelling format. And I think the value there, and as a result of, the tremendous success of gaming, whether it's video gaming, role playing, multiplayer, MMOG stuff, et cetera, that it's storytelling by nature, because any good game has a great story, but in the construction or development of that story, you have the if such and such happens, then this happens, right?
Yeah.
So I think is it nodes? Is that what you refer to those two as? The steps or whatever.
I think in modern, don't forget my games programming experience ended at the turn of the 90s. But yes, these days when they design, it's way more graphical. And then you have to consider the whole world of 3D that sits over the top of this mini database that defines the game.
Right.
So there's whole teams of people from around the world get involved now.
Right.
But back in the 80s, you could still do a one-man job. You could sell it yourself even at the start of the 80s.
Yeah. And I think, too, because the big distinction in transmedia storytelling versus just linear is the construction of a story world. And games, I believe, is where that all began,
Yeah, but that's why that shot I showed you of the rooms is a perfect example of an early adventure game. Even before it was graphical, if you remember, it was all textual. We ought to talk about what Debbie was saying in a minute. But just to finish off, even when it was textual, it would always be you walk to the door in the left, and that would connect you to the next room. And it would say you're now in a blah, blah room. What's Debbie saying here?
She's asking you if you've worked in virtual reality in gaming at all.
No, see, I left gaming, and then I decided I needed to actually earn money because there was a lot of rogues early on. Very hard to actually earn a living unless you owned the distribution as well. So no, sorry to disappoint you there.
Well, I think what's exciting, what's happening in some areas of video gaming today is the advent of episodic video games. One in particular, Life is Strange, which are about these teenage girls. It's merging, it's the convergence of episodic storytelling with video gaming. And they've done some very, very cool stuff. You should just Google it sometime, Steve, Life is Strange, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I'll write that down. Thank you.
Yeah. And, I think as storytellers, we have an opportunity to embrace episodic storytelling, using a multi-platform approach. And, if we're looking at linear storytelling as a whole, whether it's TV or movies or what have you, the shift to second screen, the handheld device is so strong, and so the interactivity part of it, though, which is something you're very familiar with, having been a gaming programmer, that's the thing in transmedia storytelling where it's the story itself is continually evolving, because the audience, you're getting the audience involved not only in character but in story and then story world.
Yeah, and then when people buy into a world, if they really like it, they want more.
Right. This is the beauty of transmedia, is that you're not limited by platform. Some of the most successful transmedia franchises have utilized live events as part of a platform or as another platform.
Yeah.
And I think we owe it to ourselves to do that, because embracing or immersing the audience in our story world, we can take that one step further and bring the story world to them, So if unlike most superhero science fiction games, etc., we can, add a story world component or a platform where we are kind of inviting the audience to generate their own content, and rewarding them, by having them participate in a live event.
That's right. We touched upon that in email, and incidentally, apologies, my email's all over the place at the moment. So I'm hanging out on social, so you can find me on here if you want to chat about anything. It's just I can send with one email and I can't receive with another one. I need to sit down and look at it, but
yeah.
Yes. The other thing which I can perhaps bring to the table, maybe today or maybe on another conversation, is I've spent considerable time in my life studying how to win multiplayer games.
Right.
Cool.
In fact, I've dedicated a channel to it, historygamer.com on YouTube.
Right.
Now, why would that be relevant to storytelling? Winning...
Well, it's relevant because I think if you create great characters, especially the sub-characters, there's an opportunity for role-playing with the audience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And winning at a multiplayer game always comes down to diplomacy. So it comes down to talking. So in a way, relating it back to your world, perhaps it's developing character. You are developing the character.
It's kind of why I was inquired to see what your experience or knowledge of was with alternate reality game, because this is quickly becoming something that's important, not only as a storyteller, but to bring that story world into the real world, because you're merging the digital with the real world, and the project that we've been working on, there's a point in the story where it goes to another platform, and I see an opportunity for an alternate reality game there, where you have your audience hunting for clues to figure out the mystery. That's a game, right?
Yeah. There was was it called Pixmania? Pinmania in the early 80s was the first one that I know of to do that. It was a UK game, and in those days there was no internet, but it was a treasure hunt, and the game ended when somebody won. But there was no end date until somebody won. So, and there was a big prize at the end of it, big cash prize. What a great idea.
Right. Well, those kinds of things are fun. And then when you invite the audience to participate in story and where it can go, it's going back to the bare bones, the fundamentals of gaming. If such and such happens, then XYZ happens, right?
Yeah. But
so,
the one thing... Sorry,
go ahead.
One thing I wanted to instill in your mind, if you were thinking of designing a game, and I've got a game spec to show you if you're interested, is you want to get away from a series of if-then commands. Instead, you want to be looking up a table of outcomes, because that way, not only will it be faster to process, but the range of options is expanded.
Yeah, well, I think in our linear storytelling, in the interactive component, you can have choices for the audience to take in terms of dialogue, So this character says XYZ, and, or how the other character responds might be A, B, or C. And depending upon what that audience chooses, that's the direction the story goes.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best examples of that game that I know of is the Blade Runner game. Have you seen that one?
I have not, no.
It came out in 96. It was one of the last of the games before they went fully 3D. But the beauty of that game is you're going to be interacting with characters. You can watch it on YouTube. Just look at the Blade Runner game on YouTube and watch people play it through if you're interested. Anyway, you will come across characters, and hello, Mike, by the way. You will come across characters, and you'll be given 3 or 4 options. But the brilliance of the game is no matter which option you choose, it weaves itself back into the rough storyline. Now, that's clever.
Well, the whole Blade Runner story world in itself is an amazing world. I was just watching Transcendence last night, the Johnny Depp film, and I don't know if you've seen that.
Not
but
that
whole world that they build in the data center, in this amazing, artificial intelligence thing, it's just remarkable. But that's what's engaging, and this is the beauty of transmedia, is that if we do a good job in creating a story world that an audience relates to, and then take it to other levels,
Yeah.
by adding the gaming component, making it fun, making it adding mystery to it, etc. It becomes explosive in terms, especially if it's well done and well executed. But there lies the bet. When I was talking with Chris this morning, he said, the whole thing with transmedia storytelling is that it's constantly changing because you're inviting the audience to participate.
How on earth do you control that?
How do you control it? Yeah, you have to set up, you have to have boundaries, And I think in a video game, the boundaries are already set. You can only do so much or go so far. Of course, with episodic video gaming now, that can change as well.
Yeah, but you still got to define the framework of your story. Hi there, J.S. Gilbert. Welcome, sir.
How are you, Steve? Hi, Jonathan.
Very good.
Debbie.
Hi.
So sorry, you carry on there, Jonathan.
I'm sorry. So, yeah, I don't know that in episodic video games that the audience has any participation other than just playing the game.
What do you mean by participation other than playing the game?
Well, in other words, in participation in story. So in episodic video games, from what I've seen, is that you can control what can happen next by what you choose. But, and of course, to some degree, that is the story.
Mm.
Again,
most games, even if we're talking about what we used to refer to as nonlinear entertainment, most games will have certain limitations. They're not unlimited in terms of the directions they can go in, but certainly the user experience should be one more of participation rather than viewer. I think if it's successful.
Right.
The problem you've got is because I don't know if we haven't been here the whole time, JS, but I used to be a programmer and I used to be a games programmer. But and I was arguing that even though we've got fantastic 3D now, at the core, it's still the same. It's still basically database programming.
Well,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Keep going. I agree with that so far to a large extent.
Okay. So if it's database programming, then you, by definition, probably it has to be at the start. When you start the game, you have to be really certain about the boundaries of the game, or the database becomes nonsensical. I worked for a boss who, it was actually a website we were designing, but he wanted to change the way the website works mid-development, and it made a right mess of everything, so we had to change the whole database.
Well, I think there are certain places you can look at for inspiration. For example, Riot Games is a perfect comes to mind. Their main property that they have is called League of Legends, and I'm lucky enough to be involved with that project. I play 5 of the characters in that game.
Cool.
There are approximately 30 million people a day that play that across the world.
Wow.
Nice. So at any given time, it's about 8 million people. The user engagement is roughly 4 hours. But what happens in that game is that the analytics that Riot keeps on the game are incredible. Not only that, but the relationship that they have with the gamers is pretty amazing. So they're constantly, because it is an online game, they're constantly refreshing it, adding new characters, changing skins, doing all kinds of things. Plus, the game itself is very much about finding other people and creating allegiances and all. So that's part of that. I'm also involved with Lotro, Lord of the Rings Online. Again, a lot of these games like World of Warcraft and so on and so forth have those elements in them. So, but it varies. I mean, you're going to have simplicity in a handheld game. A first-person shooter is a different experience. So it's kind of like saying you watch TV and you get something different from a reality show than you will from a game show, for a quiz show, from a drama or a comedy. So the experiences are going to be different. The takeaways are going to be different. But my sense of things from what I do, which is voices in games, I don't really think that that's changed a whole lot in 15 years.
I don't think it's changed in 30 years. That's my point.
Maybe.
At the end of the day, it's still going to be a set of tables that are connecting to each other. I guarantee.
Well, yeah, the understructure is always zeros and ones. That's there's no way of getting around it. But
well, the topic here is transmedia. Where gaming is one of many platforms that can be incorporated in story world. So, and yet the essence of gaming, which is before you came in, JS, we were talking about the fundamentals of gaming as related to storytelling, and it's an interactive story, right?
I guess it all depends on what you want to use the word story for. I mean, a story is kind of one of those words now that I think that just has a lot of meanings to it, as does storytellers. So,
Right.
You can call yourself a storyteller and you can still have an audience full of people who are sleeping. That doesn't mean you can't have that title, I suppose, but maybe is it a good story, or is it a good game, or is it good entertainment? And good, of course, is subjective as well. Understanding.
I was just going to give you my definition of good. Is where you go, just one more game. If it's got that to it, it's good.
Well, Blab is like that. It's like, I don't want to leave Blab. I'm having a nice conversation, and I don't usually get that here in my studio where it's me and the dog. So, yeah. So from that standpoint, I like what Sally Hogshead has to say these days. She says it's not about engagement anymore. It's about fascination. You have to really fascinate people. So, but I'm working on a I can't really talk about it because of an NDA, but it's an Oculus Rift game, actually two of them, and I am definitely going to see the gaming community embracing this in a huge way. And it's such a different experience to be immersive in it.
Right. Right. And that's the key word. And, this is the thing that excites me about transmedia as a whole. It's a far more immersive experience than just, as we call it transmedia, you've got the sit back, the lean back and the lean forward viewer. The lean forward viewer is that viewer that's actively participating in the story world, interacting with characters on social media, forums, blogs, etc. It's a far more engaging way of telling stories, and as you know, some of the best video games, like the one you were just describing, JS, obviously you wouldn't have 8 million users playing if it wasn't fun, right?
Well, I think what it is the best games tend to be the result of people who listen.
Right.
So storytelling, I think the best quality of a good storyteller is their ability to listen. Roxanne asked a question here. I don't quite understand it. I wish some of the games could play with people at home and not leave them out along with your friends online. I don't know what that means exactly.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Rephrase it?
If you could clarify that, I guess we can, one of us might be able to answer it. So, yeah. So transmedia, games, social, movies, and more. I think it's, it all comes down to no matter what's going on out there, it seems as though everything is a competition for attention. Attention or eyes on is the currency these days.
Right.
So it's interesting because there's Twitch is a very popular site, not dissimilar to Blab or Periscope or whatever, but the gamers caught on big time that it could be a tool for them. And so you find the occupants there, probably 80% of them are fairly hardcore gamers and that centers around gaming. So it's just kind of interesting.
Well, given that all games are 3D, I should imagine that limits the age range that can actually participate effectively.
Yes, the whole thing about YouTube, there's a lot of major league players getting into the gaming world now. And you look at what Apple just did with the new Apple TV and making the remote a gaming controller. We're going to see a lot more of that, you know. And this is why I'm excited about Transmedia, because the gaming platform is an important one to use. And beyond that, when we're telling a linear story, we need to look at ways we can gamify the story, because we want the audience to interact.
Well, how do you define transmedia, Jonathan? What's your definition of it?
Well, by definition, the most widely used definition is interactive storytelling across multiple platforms.
Okay.
Okay. You can extend beyond that, but you know, ultimately, it's building story world,
Right.
and then utilizing the other platforms to broaden it, because in a story world, the sum of the parts is greater than the whole.
Yeah. My main vocation is I work in advertising.
Okay.
So the challenge, of course, here, as far as transmedia or many media, is to try and take something, a brand, a service, or whatever it will, and create a unifying story that can work across all
Right.
different platforms, and also can resonate not just maybe with a core audience, but hopefully to as wide an audience as possible. It's very, very tricky. So we're finding that a lot of businesses are looking at different methodology for delivering stories that are very, very specific to a narrow kind of focus audience. So, you know, that's kind of what's going on for us. But again, the whole thing is, if you look at the websites and all that, gamification, participation, interaction, you know, people really need to feel a lot more affinity for a brand or a service. Or I think maybe what it comes down to is, regardless of what you're doing, you're really looking at building advocacy, aren't you?
Yeah, true, absolutely. And you know, in the advertising world, Transmedia has been incredibly successful and incredibly popular.
And scary.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good thing, you know. You know, what's on the horizon with, you know, like the project you're working on, JS, you know, the Oculus. Of course, that requires some additional hardware, so not everybody's going to jump on that right away.
Well,
But the fact is, there are versions of the virtual reality. There you go. The virtual reality experience have been designed into just using a basic YouTube video, you know, where you move your phone around and you see the world that is within the story, or at least the environment. That's cool in itself, you know. And so I think the technologies are coming along so readily now. And as they get refined, we have an opportunity of, depending upon what you're doing, you know, whether you're a gamer or a transmedia storyteller or whatever, is to embrace those technologies, because they're going to be built into every smartphone pretty soon anyway. You know, and then, you know, when you look at the importance of social media, that, you know, which is a crucial platform for a storyteller, and the fact that Nielsen has added social media as another barometer for gauging market share, that, you know, that's another road sign that I think if you're not paying attention to, you need to. Yeah. You know, so I think there's so much to be gained from stepping away from strictly a linear way of approaching something to nonlinear, using multiple platforms.
Well, you know, it's funny, because even if you look at something as basic as a sales scenario,
right?
Salesmen were always taught, even from the dawn of time, that it's not a linear thing. So it starts off, do you like the red car or do you like the blue car? And it's always about getting the person involved in the sales dialogue and interested in the conversation. the interesting thing is that the salesperson usually has control over the conversation, but the customer believes that they are controlling what's going on, very much like in a game, right? Whoever created the game has complete control over what initially or what's going to happen at any given point, but the user thinks they're in charge. It's just I don't know. I find it very fascinating from a psychological standpoint.
Sure. Jamie, is that you? Are you there?
Hey, what's up?
Where's Jamie? Hey, Jamie.
Hey, I just wanted to see how my favorite impressionist was doing.
Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to come in, say hi to all you guys. Hope you guys are having a good day.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. So,
You're welcome.
how you feeling? Are you having a good day today? I see you got yourself something to eat today. You finally opened the door, did you?
Yeah, I finally opened the door.
Okay. Good.
So
Looks like Friday's
right.
shaping up pretty good. We're going to have a good time on Friday.
yeah, Friday's gonna be really good.
Okay.
I think after the town hall is over at the Blab Town Hall, because they're doing that today. After that's done,
That's like in
I
8
think
minutes. The town hall's in 8 minutes, isn't it?
yeah. I
Okay.
think me and John are gonna go and do an interview, so it's gonna be like a little video package.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be running
Type
out in a little bit, but I'll stop in later and say hi to you and Colin.
Is the Blabathon scheduled, or are they just gonna go live? So it's scheduled.
I don't know. Colin and John are in charge of that.
I've been trying to find it.
Okay. I don't know. You have to talk to them. So.
Okay.
All right. Take care, Jamie. Good to see you.
I'm going to make way for Mike. So
I'm sorry about that.
No, it's no problems. I'm going to make way for
I don't know
Mike.
if you know Jamie or not. He's lovely and he's part of the Blab community. He has cerebral palsy, and we're doing a thing here on Blab, a Blabathon on Friday, basically to help raise some money because his computer is on its last legs. So we're trying to get him a new computer, and that's what that was. So,
Oh my God.
Anyway, sorry if we hijacked your room here. I love this conversation, and I wish, Debbie, how come you're not sitting in there? You're running this, but you're not sitting. Why is that?
She's having trouble logging into it. I had difficulty at the beginning. She's trying again now.
Okay.
As you can see, her wheel keeps spinning. I had difficulty too, and I just tried replugging in. She said Blab doesn't like her.
Well, you know what? I have to run anyway. I promised my wife to take her shopping because it's her birthday. So,
Oh my gosh.
So we're going to get her an outfit, and I need to leave here in a minute. But if I would love so much, again, I'm following all you guys. If you have this conversation again, I would really love to, even if I'm just sitting in the chat room. I find it fascinating, and I'm glad that I can be a little part of it. So I'm just going to say goodbye to you, and what a pleasure it was to I've seen Steve before on one of these. Yeah, but Jonathan, no, it was my first time, and Debbie I've seen before. So, but I'm sure I'll be seeing you all again on Blab, and thank you so much for letting me be a little part of this.
Oh, thanks, JS. I appreciate it. What was the gaming company you do the voices for?
I do I've done voices for somewhere between 300 and 400 games. So I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and this is kind of where games started.
Are you really? That's where I am.
Oh, okay.
Where are you in San Francisco?
South San Francisco, actually.
Oh, okay. I'm in Mill Valley.
Oh, all right. There you go.
We're neighbors.
Yeah, indeed. So I used to work for Domark, who was in Mill Valley. They were one of the early companies, and
Right.
What the heck's this? I mean, all the early companies, Strategic Simulations, and
Remember Broderbund?
Broderbund. I did a lot of stuff for Broderbund, Learning Company before Broderbund, then Mattel Interactive, Hasbro Interactive. So I've been around these people. When I started doing stuff for EA, it was a small little place. Trip Hawkins used to do a lot of the directing, and they all had that beat up Naugahyde couch with the
Oh yeah.
tape on it, holding it together, and it was just wonderful. An 8-bit world, trying to do stuff for the Atari ST platform back then, and
I was there.
And if you were a coder, you had to do what we called elegant coding because, yeah. And so I was lucky. I got to be one of the first voices on games. I did concatenation in the early days. Wizard, pick up the book. Warlock, pick up the scepter. Munchkin, go to the house. Because they couldn't fit the audio on. And it's come a long way. And some parts of it really have come a long way. They're now giving Emmy Awards out to music and games. So pretty amazing. I look forward to what Moore's Law will be doing to the gaming, because gaming, has basically been driving why computer advancement is happening. It's pretty funny, huh? So let's just see. Yeah, the world after the i7 processor. When they etched quartz processors, the gigaflops. We'll see what's happening. The computers will think faster than we do. Anyway, hopefully we'll be around.
Yeah.
But I do have to run, and very, 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 very nice again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, JS.
Sorry you couldn't sit there, Debbie. This was a great topic.
No.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, man. Hey, the one last thing that I can contribute, Jonathan, before I probably ought to, I can cope with unheavy stuff, but 24 hours doing this is a bit mad.
Yeah.
Is 3D animation, because that's what I do. I've spent the last 6 years on it now.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, that's all part of the puzzle, isn't it? 3D animation.
Oh, okay. So that's what you're doing now?
Yes, I spend hours and hours. I spend 90% of what I do making a 3D animated film.
Oh, so you're an animator. I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. What do you think is Terry Gilliam's work?
It's not really my style. I know he's English and all of that, and I suppose I should like him because he's English, but no, not really.
No worries.
Well, you're in the gaming world, and, he's in the film world or TV world, so, I'm a big fan of Terry. I tweet with him back and forth all the time.
Do you?
Yeah, he finally got his biography done, or autobiography. It's called Gilliam-esque, and it just, even the design of it is classic Terry Gilliam. But, he's a big proponent of transmedia too.
Okay.
Of course he would be. I mean, if you look at the way he approached storytelling with visually, very unique, whether it was Baron Munchausen or any of the film projects he did, the visual storytelling in itself was a very unique approach. So he's always been ahead of the curve, and that's why I like him so much, especially for a guy in his mid-70s.
Yeah.
So you're a 3D animator, so you're employed by a gaming company then still, or?
No, I'm one of these people, Jonathan. I just wake up one morning and go, do you know what? I think I'll be and then I take my life in that direction.
Wow.
And I do it unpaid, and then I try and impress people, and then I try and get paid. And so I'm still here. I'm in my late 40s now, and I'm still here.
That's fabulous. Well, you should definitely connect with Krishna Stott. I think I gave you his email, Steve.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that Bellyfield's working on now is creating the world's first smartphone channel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, it's definitely needed. I don't know how you go about doing that, but he and his team have been working on it for a while. So, the smartphone is a very important storytelling device,
Well, you always have to look at what the younger generation are doing. And
right.
We're not saying anything new, saying it's going mobile, but it's going mobile, isn't it?
Yes.
So,
yes.
So, I mean, can I just fly in the face of fashion for a minute? I still really get a kick out of the PC. The bigger screen. I sit in a comfy chair. Is there a future for the PC?
Boy, that's a good question. You're asking the wrong guy.
Oh, Debbie's with us as well. She likes the PC.
Right. I think, the big screen will become the PC monitor, or it is actively now. I mean, I was just seeing a review of a 34-inch curved Samsung 4K monitor. It's like $1,500 or something. But, with Windows 10 and, these multi-window kinds of things that you can do now, yeah, I mean, you look at how high resolution the PC monitor is, and, how fast broadband is. I mean, my broadband connection here is over 170 megabits a second.
Beautiful.
And it's just going to get faster, because with everyone moving to digital platforms, you need more bandwidth.
Do you know, as an animator, what I can't wait for, I feel utterly privileged that I can even do unbiased rendering, which is basically creating realistic images. Okay, you still have to learn a load of stuff, but it takes ages to render a frame at 1K. At 4K, as a lone animator, forget it. But bandwidth will increase, speed will increase, and it will get to real-time editing just for the ordinary folk like me, ordinary animators, and then there'll be an explosion of non-regulated personal content for us all to enjoy. I mean, it'll just be phenomenal.
Yeah. What kinds of projects are you working on?
Just one project. One project has consumed me now for nearly 6 years, and for tax reasons, I need to finish it by April 2016. So can I give you a synopsis of the story?
Sure.
So I'm doing a pitch here and I'm not even prepared for it, so this is hilarious. But a man with nothing to live for in the present age, a social outcast, types into a computer on Google or what have you, pay me a fortune to be cryogenically frozen and woken up in the future. And to his amazement, there's a company offering that service. And then you, as the viewer, experience firsthand, as he experiences it for the first time, the future. He didn't read the small print, and he actually wakes up in 2064 AD. That's the story. The enemy of the story, if you like, is the system. And we find out with Steve who is the system. It takes a long while to find that out.
And so how will the audience be seeing this? Online or big screen or?
You can see it now. I'm just giving it away free. I figure this is. I have to be honest with you. I'm a novice screenwriter. I'm studying now proper screenwriting because it's it's a trilogy series. So 2 and 3 are going to be written according to screenwriting rules, if you like. But 1 was just written according to my gut feel of what I wanted to see, which is heavily influenced by Blade Runner, that kind of a world. Although there's nobody shooting anybody. Sorry, what was your question? I went off on a tangent.
Well, I wasn't sure, the nature. Was this a major film studio or is it a TV series or whatever? So you're saying it's a trilogy.
I'm saying, sorry, yes, thank you. It's an animated series, and I've done 14 episodes so far, and the series 1 will complete after 23 episodes. I've done a lot of the background work, so that's why I can knock episodes out quickly, and I can hopefully get to 22 or 23 by April of next year.
Wow. How many animators are working on this?
It's just me.
You're kidding.
No. And I tell you, it's hurt my health because that is so much work, man, to do that as one person. But it's possible. And I've been sharing the journey. If you go to my YouTube channel, I've been sharing the journey, telling people how you do it for yourself. And when I started, all I had was Daz Studio, a real kind of beginner's software with beginner's results. But in just in the last 5 years, unbiased rendering. That's the key. Quality rendering is available to the individual. You don't even have to have that much money. You have to put effort in, but yeah, you can get really nice results.
So you designed or created all of the characters and the whole thing. I mean, God, 3D is so many layers. It's amazing that one person is doing this project.
Yeah, what takes the time is the modeling, because the trouble is, you see, I spent my budget about 3 years ago, buying in as many models as I can, but even that's not enough. Eventually, you have to be a 3D modeler as well. That's what kills you. Especially, I'm trying to do Blade Runner, man. Blade Runner in 3D. I've created my own world. It took ages. It took me 2 years just to do episodes 6, 7, and 8 because it's a fly over the East End of London. It's all set in London. It's just a ton of modelling. But we're through that now, so we can knock the episodes out quicker.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Wow. Best of luck with that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I just thought it might interest you because you see it's a layer. You've got the games, you've got the social interaction, but then the 3D animation. If you can get over the hump of just being able to do it for yourself, now I'm wondering whether script writing, thank you, Debbie, whether script writing goes off in a new direction where, okay, you've got your script, but you can show it. You've got proof of concept.
Yeah. Yeah, well, 3D animation is something that's always intrigued me. And, of course, we have Pixar in our backyard here. And having been over there, it's, met some of the people, and, it's just staggering what can be done today.
Yeah, but you should be aware. You should be aware that just to do the intro to a game takes about 70 people worldwide working around the clock, months, to get to that level of animation. So, as a scriptwriter, you have to, you have to accept that you can't compete with Pixar. Come on, it's ridiculous. So It has to be the animation itself is you're going to struggle to get anywhere near the quality of animation. But the rendering output, that gap has narrowed drastically in the last couple of years. That's the fascination. So stills, there's not so much in it now between stills from a Pixar or stills from me. Anybody having a go. Not really. Not if I spent 3 of those 6 years learning lighting, so I could semi-compete as best I can. I'm nowhere near. There's people that I look at and I think, wow, you know so much more than I. But I'm here to encourage people that you can do it yourself. You can.
Well, of course, shit. I was just clicked on your YouTube channel here. Oops, something went wrong. Okay, well, evidently that link doesn't take me to the YouTube channel. So, well, I don't know where we're going from here on this blab today.
I don't know. We were just skirting around different parts of transmedia, weren't we? I mean, I'm a novice, complete novice in transmedia.
Well, it's clearly it's the future, and of course, there have been a lot of transmedia franchises that have been successful. Most of them tend to be, as I probably mentioned in the email, the direction you're going, the science fiction, superhero, shoot 'em up, thriller, action kind of thing. And while those are important genres, I see an opportunity to tell some more intriguing stories, building a story world that isn't necessarily, fantasy. Because let's face it, superhero is about as fantasy as you can get.
Oh, it's boring. I just find it boring. No, I'm sure you've read these, and Debbie probably has as well, the series of books called Save the Cat.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just starting to read those. And
I would recommend, and I think It's a great book, and a lot of people rely on it. But I just finished this amazing book by John Truby called The Anatomy of Story. And
Okay.
it takes story development, etc., to a whole other level that what's his face that wrote Save the Cat doesn't. And
Okay. Thank you.
I literally had to, page through a bit of it because it was just, overwhelming. But it's a 22-step process. But I'm telling you, it is an amazing work. And, if you're working on being a better storyteller for your project, it's going to up your game considerably.
Thank you so much. I will definitely get that.
Yeah.
I want series 2 to conform to the kind of Hollywood standard. 110 pages, is it? Somewhere around there.
For a script, yeah.
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 This is why I love Transmedia, is that there is no standard. Because every Transmedia franchise is unique unto itself.
Well, do you watch the YouTube channel Film Courage?
I do not know.
Oh, please, I recommend that to anybody. Film Courage.
Yes.
Because that's people in the industry who are successful, just sharing what they do, how they do it, and what works. Yeah. And they were saying for storytelling, it's got to be, you've got to empathize with the character. And every story, doesn't matter whether it's they fall into different types, but they always take you through a journey. You've got to relate to the character. It's not a film about bowling or something. It's a film about the guy that struggles with bowling.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I will check out Film Courage for sure. But that, film is just one of many platforms. And, it's an expensive one too.
I get the impression that you want to move away from film, whereas in my case, I want to move towards film. Hilarious.
In an ideal world, once we have this thing dialed in, a film or, a whole trilogy or more would become a platform. But, I love film. It's my favorite medium, but I see its limitations, especially in the standard beginning, middle, and end, and then you're done, So while there is a story world to some degree in any film, it's not like story world as we talk about it in Transmedia, where, you can go so much deeper into the characters' worlds and the characters themselves by virtue of these other platforms. For example, if you have a character in a film and she's writing a blog or he has a blog where you learn more about that character, you go, oh, this is great. But in a film, you generally don't have that, or that character in the film has a Twitter handle that you can interact with the character. This is what we do in Transmedia.
I had that idea, and my main character is Steve Malore, so I created a Steve Malore Facebook person, but I'm too small to make it work. But that thought did occur to me that you should have your characters out there, although at the moment it contravenes Facebook's policies. They want real people.
Debbie just made a great comment. A Transmedia source could be a Twitter handle tweeting from the perspective of the bowling ball. Yeah, that's it. This is the thing about Transmedia is you have multiple points of view, and it's non-linear. This is where when I've been working on the Bible for this project, my linear story is a webisode or a mobisode, episodic story, told specifically for smartphone viewing, That's often referred to as a mobisode or a mobisode, But, with that, the entry point into that story world doesn't necessarily have to be at the beginning of the story.
Fantastic.
It could be a point of view from a character in the story world that is really engaging and interesting, which is going to, he's going to say, well, I was reading the blog that Maddie had been writing, and I had to reach out to her. And of course, then you see a link to that blog, and it's a real blog.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that blog, and then you see her Twitter handle on that. And so you send her a tweet. Okay. So this is transmedia, it's telling a story across multiple platforms, and it's interactive.
Well, I had the idea in episode 1 of Sci-Fi Funk. The guy types in a website address. And so I had that website address operational for a while. So in theory, if it got well known, that they could follow the same pattern that he was following in real life. But of course, I can't staff that. But yes, it's the same sort of thing, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Well, in Carolyn Miller's book, Digital Storytelling, she talks about probably what she thinks is one of the first earliest uses of multi-platform, which was the Blair Witch Project, where, as that was a bootstrapped, indie film, but they created multiple websites, about the mythology, about the characters, about, a lot of the outtakes, et cetera, they shot, so that you get to go much deeper into this world around the Blair Witch Project with those multiple websites than just having this film.
Awesome.
Yeah,
it's becoming clear to me now. Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah. The possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's literally infinite. I mean, even the merchandising of a transmedia project, that's a platform.
Yeah.
If you have the gaming side, which is your area of familiarity. Okay, she's writing a bunch of
we
stuff.
ought to give Debbie a shout here because she's writing War and Peace, and it's
Let's read. As long as it's Fisher. I have a speaker friend who has a Facebook page for her dog, which she uses in her speaking engagements. It's from the dog's perspective. Josh Henderson uses his Facebook page brilliantly during the season of Dallas. He would post in character. Actors can use their pages to speak in character as another extension of the film. Like Josh had, transmedia is often used as a brand extension of a film. So. There's no limitation about where you can go, whether it's, well, here you've got Sci-Fi Funk. How difficult would it be to spin off a comic series or a series of ebooks about it? Those are other platforms.
Yeah. Now, see, that's the beauty of animation, because I'm not an artist from the traditional sense, but now that all those frames, those thousands and thousands of frames exist, and I've got Final Draft, and that can create from the scripts, that can create a template for you to insert your comic book. And the comic book can be taken from the animation. Now you see how one person could actually pull this off.
Right. Right. And Debbie saying, I could see a cheesy music video for Sci-Fi Funk. Right. Exactly. This is the beauty of collaborative thinking and brainstorming. It's why, did you see that discussion I posted in Stage 32, wanting to have a transmedia mastermind group?
I missed that. I'm very new to the whole Stage 32, actually.
Okay, well, in the lounge, there's a transmedia section that actually happened because I kept bugging the heck out of Rich Botto, the founder, and he finally caved in.
Well, that's right. Well, you and Debbie are the most prolific. Yeah, I'm following that every day.
Yeah. Debbie saw the mastermind thing.
Very good.
Visionator sounds like this is meeting one. Yeah, that's true, Debbie. So, yeah, I mean, this is the great thing about brainstorming, is that, Debbie is very knowledgeable about transmedia in the worlds that she works. And I'm coming strictly from a perspective as a fictional storyteller, so again, this is the beauty. There's no one arena that transmedia is used in. It's used in every arena you can imagine, and many you haven't imagined yet. But, like Debbie points out, Okay, she says we have to get in a Google Hangout. Well, maybe that's what we'll do. Are
Yeah,
you?
I've got to learn what to do on that. To be honest,
Are do you have a Gmail address?
not for Sci-Fi Funk, but I can get one.
Okay, you can create one. You know.
Yeah.
So if you get a Google handle, you know, we can set up a time and do a hangout. And
I'll tell you what, actually, I might have to do it via my company name, HTD Web Marketing. And I'll tell you why. Because if you create that Gmail on your YouTube, it transfers that as your primary email address and you can never get it back. And I want mine to be steve@scififunk.com.
okay,
So,
got it.
yeah. But we'll find a way. It's not a problem.
Maybe you could do Sci-Fi Funk at Gmail.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, I can't do that for Google because it will transfer it away from Sci-Fi Funk. They're evil like that.
Yeah. I realize that. Debbie said you can forward the addresses. Well, you could just, you know, use your name. You could just do Steve Payne at Gmail and leave it at that, you know.
Yeah.
Right?
I've got dozens of them anyway. Yeah, you'll know it's me.
Yeah. But again, you know, when you start getting your arms around the fundamentals of transmedia, and I'm still, you know, I've been studying it for 8 or 9 months now, and I still feel like I'm a complete rookie.
Well, it's so vast. It's vast, man.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's finding the various, and again, this goes back to what Debbie was saying, you know, the multiple points of view that can be used in a transmedia story world there's no limitation, you know. So if a character has a dog or a cat, like Debbie does, you know, we could be hearing a point of view from the cat about what's going on, you know, and that cat point of view could end up being an entire series.
I see the point. Yes, very nice, sir. Very nice.
Yeah. Or the cat maybe has this fantasy that she's been watching Garfield, but she has her own animated fantasy about a story that she wants to tell. And that spins off into another platform, which is an animated series.
Well, I tell you what, I don't want to give too much away, but when I realized that I'm going to need more than one screenplay to be taken seriously as a screenwriter, plus I need to know the theory, my mind immediately went to how can I spin off from series 1? There was no series 2 and 3. And then it became obvious to me that I could take characters from series 1 and then make them one of them the central character for series 2 and tell the story from a completely different angle. There we go. Brand new series. All the same world, though.
Right. Well, I have a character in this project I'm working on who is he was adopted by the central character's father. Her father divorced her mother when they were young, and the father was originally from Australia. And when he remarried, he adopts this Aboriginal child. And this kid is unique. He's got like a mind like Sherlock Holmes. He's like a Mensa IQ, but he's an orphan. And so he's a little bit introverted. He's just like off the charts in terms of him being a character and where he can go. But as an Aboriginal, you know, it's one of the oldest cultures on the earth, you know, and so he has all these mythologies and these mythologic characters and creatures, etc. And so through his point of view, from maybe a Aboriginal mythologic, you know, creature, you have this whole other world that exists. So again, this is this multiple point of view thing, and using those other platforms to tell those other point of view stories. You know,
the only thing is, how on earth do you have enough life to pull this off?
Well, you don't. The one thing you don't do at Transmedia is, you know, you want to work on your story because it's all about story. Yeah. If you let the platform dictate the story, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you do is you look at your story world and you want to see how you view perspectives and what platforms are going to best serve that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, this is the best application. And again, Steve, I'm still studying this. This is why I mentioned Rob Pratton's new book. You need to take a look at Conductor, the platform.
Conductor.
It's CON. I'll message it to you right now. It's CONDUCTTR.com. Okay.
Okay.
So if you look in the messages there, you'll see it. This Rob Pratton and his guys developed this platform years ago, and it keeps expanding. They added a mobile component to it that's called Communicator, and it's integrated to the Conductor platform. So when you're expanding from one platform to another, it's a collaborative tool for the entire team to be working on. It's a distribution platform. It's a marketing platform. It's everything,
Awesome.
There's another thing I was just reading about and just signed up with called Horizon. I think it's Horizon something, but it's another transmedia development platform. But Conductor is amazing. It's astounding, when you take a look at what can be done, it's just without limit,
But I still think what you want to do is you want to look at what skill sets do you have, and then what skill sets can you get around you.
Right.
Yeah. So you would be the director if it were equating this to a film. You'd be producer stroke director, wouldn't you? I guess.
Yeah, well, transmedia, because it's multi-platform, it requires, the leader, the showrunner, let's call it. When these guys are done, there will be a recording both here at Blab and YouTube channels. Okay.
We've got through a lot, by the way, Rick, and is there anybody else? Yeah, we've got through a lot of stuff. It's amazing, isn't it, Jonathan, when you get into it, just how much there is that we know. And we're still learning tons.
Oh, it's just, it's remarkable that, there's no limit to what you can learn. But, I think the important thing for all of us to do is to explore what hasn't been done. I always seem to be getting blabs when they're sweeping up and putting the chairs upside down. We're not there yet. Although it's getting pretty late for you, Steve. My God.
Yeah, I'm going to flag soon, but I'll keep going for a bit. I need some food, to be honest with you.
Oh, well, you haven't eaten yet at 11:30?
No, I get hungry at night. Could I disappear for 5 and keep the fort going, and I'll be back? Is that okay?
Well, I'm the only one here, so maybe we could just draw to an end. What do you think, Debbie? Or did Mario just join? I don't know if anybody else wants to participate in this discussion. Debbie, the organizer of this, isn't being. Oh, Debbie says let's revisit it. Okay,
yeah, probably because of the length.
I'll let you go, and we'll reconvene here. Hopefully Blab will be friendly again with Debbie. We've been going for an hour and a half. She said that's true. So I think that's plenty.
I think that's plenty. Yeah. Good to meet you, Jonathan. Good to meet you, Debbie, in real life, as it were.
Yes.
And I look forward to further chats.
Right. Okay. Well, good evening, Steve, and look forward to talking with you again soon.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Okay.